Good morning. All right, guys. Well, today we are talking about AI, and it's very fitting that we're talking about this at RESO because RESO standards really are the building blocks to a foundation of a successful use of AI. I had a whole intro planned, and I'm totally going to scrap it because last week I had the honor of seeing Reese Witherspoon talk about business in New York, and she said something that really stuck with me. She said, everybody is so worried that AI is gunning for their job, when in reality, it's the people who understand AI that's gunning for your job. So with that in mind, I really inflated ChatGPT's ego because I used AI to write these questions. So to get started, Matt and Santanu, how do you see MLSs successfully implementing AI into your organizations? And Santanu, we'll start with you.
Sure. MLSs have always been providing a wealth of data and information, but now with the developments with AI, we now have the opportunity to change how this data is inputted, searched, or even utilized using insightful data analysis that we can do. For instance, listing input agents often try to enter as complete a listing as they can, but despite best efforts, statistics reveal, besides the required fields, many of these fields are, left empty. AI can help bridge that gap, helping agents input data from their images and having those data be more complete. Listing search can be made more, so agents are always busy, they're on the go. AI have the opportunity to kind of have the search being done using plain English, or even we've heard in earlier sessions using audio and have that search being done when they're using their phones, etc. Then the final part that I see where MLSs need help is education, where there is a lot of new members or agents are learning about the new tools that we are providing them. AI can help automate a lot of those things there. So those are some ways that I feel that AI can be used to the benefit of its members by the MLSs.
Awesome. And Matt, how about for you guys?
For me, I would say, so there's a lot of AI, everybody's got AI out there, lots of different tools out there. Some of them are very disparate and very unique in their own ways. As an MLS, it's not so much about if, but more so how you're going to implement it. And so let's take an example like virtual staging is very common. What is the difference between an MLS implementing virtual staging and somebody just using the service themselves, right, as an agent? Two ways. You can maybe get a discount by using it through the MLS. But really, if you think about the process, it's all about the workflow of an agent, I think, in my mind. Where does that journey start, and where does it fit in that journey of an agent working through that, right? So virtual staging as the example here. Generally speaking, what they would do is they get the photos, then they upload it to another tool, does all the staging stuff, download it again, and then upload it into the MLS. That's not very beneficial. There are some benefits, of course, of the speed and cost that are realized now with AI. But for me, it should be really part of the, let's say, in the added process, right? Where that's already happening right in that process. So a lot of it for me hinges on that fact, like how if an MLS is entertaining certain tools, it's really thinking about the process and where it would fit in and should fit in to give that added value to the agents as an MLS.
That makes sense. Yeah, just being smart where you're implementing it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mike, switching over to the Proptech side of things, how do you see Proptech companies successfully implementing AI?
Yeah, and as Sam mentioned, it's important that we use applications of AI that are solving real problems, automating things that people are already doing. And so for us, we have a couple of really interesting use cases that we've been looking at that are really helpful, I think, when you talk about the journey toward home ownership. And so obviously, with so many people out in the US today being renters, they start there. How can we streamline the process for them to become buyers? And obviously, agents work with rentals so that they can convert them to buyers at some point. But how can we make this easier, and how can AI assist with this? And so we did a couple interesting things, and we actually worked with CoreLogic on a couple interesting use cases here, where we actually took, number one, a cohort of renters that had applied about 24 months ago. And then we got some data from CoreLogic that showed who among those renters ended up purchasing a home a couple years later. And through looking at the renter characteristics, their income, their credit score, the zip codes, we were able to map that to see what characteristics were determining and which were predicting of the renters that would end up purchasing a home at some point in the future. So we were able to create a model from this that basically fast tracks agents and other real estate professionals and even the renters themselves to say, okay, these are the renters of 1,000, there's maybe 50 of them that are very likely to purchase a home. And they have the highest propensity to purchase a home. So we've created these really interesting use cases where now agents can basically predict with 2 times more accuracy who among the renters that they've worked with are likely to purchase a home, and they can help them and get the process done easier. And it was really a good collaboration with CoreLogic. We got a beautiful data set from them that made the whole process super easy, and it's a really, really good use case that's helpful for people and streamlines the process.
Yeah, that really leads into my next question, because who we're servicing is the end user, right? The home buyer, the renter. And for that in particular, a lot of people just don't even know that they have the ability to buy. They're dumping a ton of money into these expensive rentals, and they're not educated that they even have the ability to purchase a home. So the next question I have, I'm going to open the floor to all of you guys, but Mike, if you want to start, is how does this service that end user? How are you using AI to service the end user?
Yeah, I think like we're talking about here, it's important, like with the showings, how can we help agents? How can we help MLSs? How can we help consumers across the board? And so another thing that we would look at too, right, is the market's competitive. If you're a consumer and you're trying to secure a place, whether you're trying to purchase a home or try to find a home to rent, you have to put in multiple offers. Even for rentals, you have to apply to 2 to 3 properties before you get accepted. And so the old way would say, okay, you've applied to these properties, maybe you didn't get accepted, here's some similar properties that you might like. But using machine learning applications, instead of just providing similar properties, we have the renter and the consumer data, so we can actually use that to provide better recommendations for the consumer to not just say, hey, here's these similar properties. Instead, we can say, oh, these are properties that you're actually very likely to get accepted for or to get an offer accepted for based upon the qualifications and the data that we know about you already. So it makes it a lot easier for the consumer. It makes it easier for the seller or the landlord to actually get qualified people that are interested in their property, and they're not people that are trying to punch above their weight. So this is a really good thing for people that just makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. I know when I look to rent, I'm spending tons of money and applying to like 8 properties, and that's quite a pain. So, but we'll switch it over to you, Matt. How does this service the end user?
In various ways, of course. I'm going to start with a little example that I think that just happened yesterday to me at lunch. So I was picking up my lunch and got my cutlery and went to the table. And just about when I was starting to eat, my knife dropped. And I was like, ah, crap. And so I turned around to get a new set of cutleries, and there was already a service staff there with a piece of cutlery. And it was fantastic service, right? If you think about what happened is there was a trigger ultimately, which was the cling of the knife that immediately alerted that person that it's this, right? With AI, I think what we can do is something to what you were saying with Michael, that mass customization at the consumer experience level, right? At scale. That's not been possible historically, I think, to this level, right? And that's the really exciting bit. And whether that's renters or whether it's like voice, different consumers get really a lot of benefit out of that mass customization with the power of kind of machine learning.
Awesome. And how about for you, Santanu?
Yeah, so in the MLS, we are always trying to create client connect tools for the agents so that they can better connect with their clients and engage better. So I think a lot of the use cases that we just talked can translate over to these client connect tools, such as a client portal or a seller's page, or and even native apps that we provide for our members. So all of those benefits that we talked about makes a easy transition to those those platforms. And I see clients getting more information, more data, because now the agents are able to enter more complete listings. And even the connection, like we talked about, how to cultivate, how the agents can recommend, like I think Michael mentioned about making the recommendations. All of those things are, I think, is made a lot easier. And I think that's how I see that it helps the end user.
Yeah, especially for data, because as somebody who's bought a home myself, especially when you're searching for homes, you want complete data, right? You want to know that the bedroom bathroom count are right and all that stuff. And there's human error when you're entering things. So adding AI into the listing input process really alleviates some of that human error. And Matt, I know you and I had talked a little bit about just like supporting your staff and training on AI. When I was listening to Reese Witherspoon talk, she said one of the most important things that she did was just get online, like on a flight, and do a quick class on AI or ChatGPT or whatever, familiarize yourself with it. So what are you doing to support your staff with AI?
So on that note, I heard that prompt engineering is, training on prompt engineering is overrated, so you shouldn't do it. A recent study showed that, just to let you know, in case you're training people on prompt engineering. For our staff, so we did a whole program over the last year. We didn't actually do a lot on the customer side when it comes to using AI or like offering services, because we wanted to learn. We wanted to get everybody on par with what's going on, what the impact is. So internally, we created this AI think tank we called, allow people to submit ideas of what they think, like the staff, what they think is important, what could be solved with AI. That was really good because it really stirred innovation. And out of, I think, 25 or so ideas that came through, 2 of them were realized by now, which one of them was what we call a support Q&A. So this is we've uploaded all of our documentation, training transcripts, phone call transcripts at one point as well, and fed it into the system. And so our staff can now basically use Teams, and there's a little Teams chat to just ask any questions pretty much. And for experienced staff, obviously it's not that valuable, but it's really about the onboarding process. So you got new staff and they don't take a whole load on the kind of tier 2 staff to answer questions. They can just find it fairly quickly. And we did the same with HR as well.
Oh.
Separate instance. Yeah, there's
It could be sticky.
It's a sticky one, yeah, sure. So that's what we did internally to support staff. There's a few other initiatives around that, but we're at the stage where we're now looking at how can we relay that. So the support queue is a good example that can be offered on the customer level too, right? They could ask the questions. We'd have to kind of clean it up a little bit to answer certain questions, I guess. But other than that, yeah, that's how we do it.
Yes, yeah. So we did that on the consumer side already. So we did like something similar where we got a model, trained it with all of our internal knowledge base, and then we got the AI chatbot.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty good. And actually, we were testing it a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to roll it out to everyone, but it's important, right? Because we have hundreds of thousands of agents that use our service, and so they want to get answers. They want to get quick answers, like after hours, stuff like that. So we trained the model. We have the AI chatbot, and actually the satisfaction was pretty much on point with the human staff that we had on the team. So it's been really good to see that come to fruition as well.
We as an MLS didn't have that particular channel of knowledge base for the people who want to self-serve them, like instead of calling or emailing, they want to just find out, right? We didn't have that as a channel. We had this massive plan before ChatGPT was rolled out of, documenting articles, putting it together, and then reviewing the articles. And so I'm glad that we got delayed on that project because it just got solved pretty much in a shot. So.
Well, that's nice too, because especially for onboarding, right? Like a lot of people, when they start, they don't want to keep bugging their manager or asking the person next to them a ton of questions. So it's great to kind of alleviate that for sure. And like Mike, you said, a lot of the times we're faced with, like we're a West Coast company, so we have certain support hours, but then you have East Coast people who need their questions answered just as fast. So it alleviates a lot of those problems. Awesome. Santanu, anything you guys are doing internally?
No, it's similar to what Mathew and Michael said. We're trying to kind of offload the help desk anyways, like you said, to stretch it on the hours when they are not there. So besides that, our compliance staff, has in the past have the arduous task of, whenever we want to enforce image violations, that was not possible. So now we've kind of partnered with a computer vision company, which enables us to help detect those violations. So that's something that we couldn't do before, and now we're trying in the process of detecting those. Automating that is helping out a lot. And also the compliance staff they always have to review some listing agreement documents or the seller's instructions to exceptions. So those documents now we're trying to experiment with OCR and machine learning to automate, to convert those unstructured data into structured data so that we can automatically process that instead of them having to review those fields. So those are some of the ways that we're doing that.
Awesome, awesome.
So one thing I wanted to add to about, I think you mentioned this around, like how is this related to RESO and data standards? Of course, you said the training, right, is so pivotal to have that standardized data for that training. And so I'm curious what the future looks like on that front a little bit. I'm almost calling out to this group here of smart people to think about, because AI is so good at categorizing things. We heard of Lundy, for example, how you can do scenario-based querying of information, right? And you have all these extra information from image tags and voice at this point as well. In the future, I would imagine you have mechanism or technology, AI technology, that can absorb all of this at the input side, but then also at the receiving end. How does the data dictionary need to be adjusted to realize that new world kind of thing, right? That's because the training will happen, and at one point you don't need that training anymore, right? So that's a question more kind of for the audience a little bit. Yeah.
And you can just start using AI for fun, right? That's a good way to just get started. I had a friend group, somebody had kidney stones, and we all used AI to write a poem to talk about having kidney stones. So if you don't know how to use AI, we really encourage you just to get in and start playing around with it and learn more. But any final remarks from you guys before we get going?
I would just give a shout out to RESO, because what we've been able to do with AI has been vastly expedited given the clean data sets that we are able to work with. Talking about things like listing recommendations, getting a clean data set, it means it's so much faster for our teams to actually implement these things and to create these models. Getting the data sets from CoreLogic that we're able to get, it's just so much faster and easier, thanks to all the hard work that everyone's doing here for the conference and otherwise. So that's been a huge, huge thing for us that made everything much, much faster and much easier.
Didn't you have also a joke that you wanted to tell?
Yeah, come on, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can do a quick exercise. Everyone look to the person to your left of you, and then look to the person to your right. One of you will be replaced by AI. That's a joke.
It's a good joke.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave you guys on that. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and I hope you guys learned a little bit about AI.
Thank you.